Okay, welcome to the March 27th, 2024 meeting of the Lenox Selectboard. It's our regular meeting. We have Clarence Fantle from the Berkshire Eagle recording, and WCTSB, is recording also. I don't have any announcements from the chair, but I'm going to turn it over to Neil Maximilian. He's got some announcements about our public safety building, just an update.
I've been hearing from people that want to know the progress regarding it. So as people know, it's out to bid. I've been in touch with Dan from P3 and Jim Hannafin pretty regularly. The filed subs asked for an extra week to get their bids together, and the GCs are currently due with their bids on the 11th. But Dan and I are seeing a lot of activity amongst the subs and whatnot, so we're very optimistic we're going to get a nice responsive bid or two or three if we're lucky, and have it contracted probably by town meeting.
Yeah. Great. Everybody's waiting for that to happen.
Absolutely. And our folks, our team, especially Jim and Deanna, are doing great.
Yeah, they're good to work with. They're real good to work with. Okay, so we'll get a motion to accept the minutes of February 28th.
I move to approve the minutes of February 28th of the Select Board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was one I missed, right? I'll recuse myself. So now, just in time, we'll move on to Citizens Open Forum. Is there anybody here who wants to speak under Citizens Open Forum? You almost missed it.
Apparently I didn't do a good enough job last week.
Well, you did. But we're here now.
All right.
Okay.
Catch your breath.
You can catch your breath.
Yeah, catch your breath.
I see when I ran up the stairs. You can catch your breath.
It's a long walk to the Curtis.
I'm Ellen Jacobson. I live across the street at the Curtis. And we're here and this is Kate Vaughn, right?
Good to you on.
And she lives on Post Road. And this is our upcoming Fix-It Fair. I think it's number 12 or something.
Oh,
It's a big number.
Since 2016.
Is it?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, this is what we do. We fix things for free. So bring the irons, the toasters, the pans that need to be hemmed and all that. And also, if you're a skilled old geezer, we are looking for volunteers.
Or a skilled young geezer.
Or even a young
You
geezer.
don't have to be a geezer. So anybody who wants to participate and help, it's a lot of fun for people who come by and see that. We've already had people ask us, are you doing one this spring? And yes,
Yeah.
it's in a different place. We haven't been in the auditorium and the town hall for a few years, but so we're back here because we had such a big crowd last year at the community center for the spring one that we need the extra room. So please come. It's on April 20th, Saturday, April 20th, from 1 to 4. And if you know something, if you have something that needs to be fixed, if you give Ellen or me a call, we can put it out to our volunteers, and then we're sure they have whatever glues or other apparatus or sewing materials. And
Our phone numbers, both of us, Kate and Ellen, are at the bottom here in case you want to ask questions or volunteer.
or come.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You get all the stuff, date, time, place.
Yep. Okay, it's a very cool thing, and thank you guys. But thank all your volunteers for helping you out to do the fixing. So now we'll move into the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a number of things this evening. Canyon Ranch requests a use of premises approval for their yearly challenge course per Office of Public Safety and Inspections. Secondly, ratify the town manager's appointment of Shannon O'Brien as Community Center Director.
Hold it if you don't mind.
Yeah, hold on there.
Hold on that. Hildy Fauerbach requests the use of the auditorium on May 11th, 2024, 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. for a celebration of life for Frederick Fauerbach. Boston Symphony Orchestra, DBA Saranac Tanglewood, requests a renewal of their seasonal liquor license and appoint Donna Pignatelli to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda except for the one that's been held?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Neil, you put a hold on it as I did, but
Well, I just wanted to say that I've reached out to Shannon as the liaison to the LCC and, invited her to chat, meet, that I'm a resource, whatnot, and happy to have someone on board to fill an important role.
yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say that Shannon's been around all my life, or not all my life, all her life, in Lenox. She's
A wonderful teacher.
I've known her for a long time. She's a great teacher, and she's as I say, a local, and I think she'll fit in there like a glove, and it'll just be great to get that spot filled.
It will. So, I made the motion. So I'll continue to make it again. Ratify the town manager's appointment of Shannon O'Brien as community center director.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome aboard, Shannon. Okay. Consent agenda is done, so now we'll move on to general business. Is kind of similar to the consent agenda, actually. We have a Class 1 dealership license request from Berkshire Auto Group doing business as Berkshire Mazda, located at 474 Pittsfield Road. Everybody's seen, we're in, oh, you're going to have somebody to talk. Great.
Hi, I'm Jim Selby from Berkshire Mazda.
Welcome.
Yeah, so
Been busy, huh?
we've been busy, yes, yes.
So you're going to open up business. When will you open up, you think?
I'm hoping June or July,
Yeah.
August at the latest.
Yeah.
But things are moving along pretty well.
Mhm.
The weather's cooperated, so.
And you're expanding a little bit from what I understand? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not part of this, but it's,
Yeah, we're locally in Pittsfield right now, but we're moving that facility, the Mazda, to a new dealership on 474.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's a lot of things that works.
yeah. Well, we've all been watching it be built, and
Progress is impressive, especially given location.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a tough location for construction vehicles to get in and out, but
Yeah.
you've done a great job.
It's a busy street. It's very busy.
yeah. Yeah, it's going to get busier. It's set the tone now.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, all the paperwork is in order, right, Deanna? If I can get a motion?
You may. So I move to approve the application of Berkshire Auto Group LLC DBA Berkshire Mazda for a Class 1 auto dealer license dated March 8th, 2024.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck on the construction, and happy to have you in town.
Yes.
Thanks for moving over.
My daughter just got into Georgetown.
Okay, next we have an outdoor dining license request from Shots Cafe Lenox LLC, doing business as Shots Cafe located at 27D Housatonic Street. I see Mr. Lynch is here, their attorney.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jeff.
I am here on behalf of Shots Cafe. This is essentially a renewal from last year. I did pick up on one typo that I had on the application on the front page. It asks about whether this premises has a alcohol license, which it does. It has a beer and wine license. So I just asked Deanna to make that correction on the front page. Last year, you may remember that part of the discussion was the number of seating outside, and I had requested a number of seats. The board drew it back just a little bit, so we're not changing that. We're absolutely happy with what we were granted last year. And then we also had to receive a license from the town because this outdoor dining is on the town sidewalk. In looking at the documentation, I don't think that the town needs to write a new license agreement. They're essentially freely revocable. And I think the term was undefined. But we are looking obviously for the renewal of this license to allow operations to occur as they did last year.
I think last year it went as smooth as we could ever hope for. There's a few little modifications really made it seem to work there. And,
It seems to fit too.
it seems to
I
fit.
like what they did with the planters. It doesn't look overly sort of caged in, and I think it brings a little.
Of course, we're doing a lot of construction in that area this year.
know, that's-
Hopefully, it's not going to mess things up. It'll be, got to look at the big picture, and it'll be nice when it's done. So,
Understood.
yeah.
So just, Chris can answer this question about, didn't we have a sunset thing coming up about serving alcohol outside of places on?
So we, this is actually kind of fun to talk about. We had, remember that outdoor town meeting that we had, the drive-through town meeting that we had. Well, at that town meeting, part of the impetus for it was to change our zoning bylaw, or our general bylaws, to allow the select board to grant these types of permissions for a period not to exceed 6 months. And as you'll note in the application, they're looking for an April to October timeframe. So that does not sunset. They still have to comply with the ABCC regs, which they have by virtue of their liquor license.
Correct.
However, just the presence of the premise, being listed in the liquor license itself, doesn't compel the town to grant a license. We grant a license because, as Mr. Lane pointed out, it seems to be working well. But that license, that we'll call it a sidewalk permission license, is revocable by you at any time should any problems come up. Unlike the liquor license, or any liquor license for that matter, which is a more complicated process.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, is there any other discussion on it? Jeff, you all set?
I am all set.
Okay. Dave?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the outdoor dining license application for Shots Cafe dated March 11, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good to go.
Thank you very much.
Good to go. Okay, entertainment license request from Dr. Sachs LLC, doing business as Dr. Sachs House, located at 35 Walker Street. And again, Mr. Lynch, can you explain what's going on?
Certainly. So this, again, comes on the heels of a liquor license application that was made and approved by this board last year, 2023. This is 35 Walker Street. You've seen all of the activity, all the construction activity. They are really going full in on renovating this to a 9-room inn with a small cafe, as I think I had outlined in our previous discussion. There is going to be a small outdoor premises on this patio of about 1,500 square feet. The cafe itself will only seat 60 patrons, so relatively small, and the outdoor area is meant to be complementary to that seating occupancy of 60. So meaning there may be 20 people outside and 40 inside, or vice versa, but it's not going to exceed the idea of a 60-person capacity. So really pretty small scale at this point in time. One of the things that happened, as the board is likely aware, is when this board grants a liquor license and there's construction ongoing, it's not an existing premises, the ABCC comes out and visits the site. But when the investigator came out and visited the site and met with my clients talked about a potential expansion into a 3-bay garage, which is essentially set up for a retail space. But they were thinking sort of prospectively ahead and mentioned, well, hey, we may use this in a different way to support the restaurant or patrons that are at the inn for sort of overflow space. That triggered further discussions that, well, I'd have to come back to the board and do more work relative to the liquor license. We were starting to go through that process, and then with all the construction that's going on, the idea that, hey, we really just need to get this under operation, they dropped back to what the original liquor license application is and approval by this board that occurred. Deanna and I have worked again with the ABCC, basically communicating to them that no, we're just back to the original. There's no anticipated change or requested change to the premises that this board has already approved. I know my client has spoken to the investigator again at the ABCC. So essentially that liquor license is still pending, but we feel confident that everything is in line with what was in my original presentation to the board. It's probably 5 months ago now
Yeah,
or
it's been a while.
so.
So there's
now-
potential that it could happen someday, but
It
we
could
don't have to deal with it here. We'll
But
deal
right
with it
now, we're
then.
not dealing with it. We want to make sure we get the liquor license obviously solidified, finish the renovations, and be open for the season. I think it's really going to be a very nice product for the town and some new offerings in space for some outdoor, I don't want to say recreation, but relaxation. How's that? The entertainment component of it is driven by the idea that they anticipate being able to or wanting to play music. So background music on the outdoor patio area, inside certainly, and then that may expand to, very small, whether it's a jazz group or a small, solo type artist, something like that, poetry readings, but they're really sort of undefined, being a new venture. They're younger than all of us. They have some neat ideas of what they can bring in and offer to the town of Lenox, and so that's why it's a little bit ambiguous. But what I'm asking for is the ability to have some amplified entertainment, whether it's spoken through readings or music itself, both inside and outside. Inside the application itself, I asked for some limitations or anticipated limitations on hours, recognizing certainly that it's consistent with the town and what the town has done before to allow such types of entertainment contingent upon basically everything being shut down that would be audible to the neighbors by 10 p.m. So they're entirely comfortable with those kinds of limitations. So that's I'm open to questions. I know it's sort of a broad stroke. So let me know.
I don't really have any questions. I mean, I'm confident that it's going to be, as you stated, just very subtle music and amplified. It's not going to be barking things out and all.
Yeah.
And we always have the ability to call them in if something goes awry. But I have no feeling that that's going to happen. I think it's be nice.
Well, and I appreciate that you understood and hit the targets in terms of like time frames, no outdoor after 10 p.m. and all that kind of stuff. So it's good.
So it's pretty much returning to what the candlelight had.
Correct.
And it'll just be nice to have that property up and running again, because it's been pretty vacant for the last several years.
Yeah, it's been much of a quieter spot,
Yes.
Which I think, again, with their vision of cafe with the inn and then this sort of retail space that's basically, I think it's going to feature some products that are new, that they see, that they bring in from where they're coming from, the city, and this idea of at least pop-up stores or pop-up debuts of products or things like that, I think is interesting and something new and unique that'll, again, bring some energy, and that's the whole purpose, both to their spot and the rest of the town.
Max, you're the expert in this field.
I think I would agree with what Neil said. The hours look fine, and I think they'll be successful. It's great.
Okay.
So with that, if we can get a motion?
You can. I move to approve the entertainment license request of Dr. Sachs LLC DBA Dr. Sachs House located at 35 Walker Street.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, next on general.
Appreciate it.
Next on general business is to review and approve the comments to EPA on rest of the river of our life compliance plan. And Mr. Maximilian will have to recuse himself on this.
Recuse myself from this,
And,
and I'll be outside, or maybe in your office, Deanna, where I can close the door and not hear things, and you guys can come fetch me when you're ready.
Just go through that, my other door's locked.
So,
Okay.
we've, oh, go ahead, Chris. I'll
Yeah,
let-
sure.
all right.
It's been our tradition to read these for the benefit of the public record. Before I do that, this one's a little longer than some of the others, but this draft letter is in response to GE's, it'll say it in the text, but GE submitted a quality of life compliance plan back in December, predicated largely on a transportation and disposal plan that has since been rejected by EPA. So we'll get into some of that in the text of the letter. The letter in its draft form was posted Monday as part of the board agenda on the town website with hyperlinks to the document. I do want to say I did get some input from a couple of residents that I do want to address, why we didn't engage Weston and Sampson on this particular project. And the reason for that is this doesn't fall into their wheelhouse necessarily, nor were consulting services utilized by the towns of Lee or Great Barrington either, who I know, I haven't seen if Stockbridge has submitted comments or not, but fundamentally, we did, and a lot of folks may not be aware of this, we did, as part of the original settlement agreement, get a grant funding for a technical assistance services for communities grant, and that grant is from EPA allows us to access consulting services of SKIO, which provided extensive comments, which have been incorporated into not only Lenox's response, but substantially in Lee's and Great Barrington's responses that I have had a chance to read. So I want to make it clear that we have had consulting support for this response to the quality of life plan. We just didn't, frankly, see for reasons that we'll get into in the letter, we didn't see a need to deploy some of our own funds to hire consultants on our own taxpayers' dollars for this particular response. But there are 4 big ones coming up where we will absolutely be utilizing additional consulting support services. So that was a question that came up. I wanted to respond to that, and I'll get into the substance of the letter. So this is to Dean Tagliaferro at EPA, submitted both electronically and in hard copy. Dear Mr. Tagliaferro, the purpose of this letter is to convey comments and concerns of the town of Lenox regarding the remediation of polychlorinated biphenyls in the Housatonic River. Lenox recognizes that while the remedy selection process is over, implementing the rest of river permit is ongoing. As such, it has the full focus and attention of the town, and we are eager to work with EPA Region 1 to maximize the safety, efficiency, and effectiveness of the cleanup throughout implementation. Part of implementation is the approval of a Quality of Life Compliance, or QOL plan, a proposal for which General Electric has submitted through their subcontractors, Anchor QEA and Arcadis, on December 20th, 2023. Lenox has reviewed the GE proposal and accompanying data submitted. This letter constitutes the town's response to the Environmental Protection Agency as approved by the Lenox Select Board on March 27th, 2024 in advance of the formal comment deadline on March 29th, 2024. General comments on pre-maturity of the compliance plan. The most significant comment from Lenox regarding the QOL proposal is that it is substantially premature due to EPA's rejection earlier this year of the GE Arcadis Transportation and Disposal, or T&D plan. Obviously, much of the QOL plan is predicated on life as it will exist under an as yet unrevised T&D regime. Lenox has advocated in the strongest of terms for a departure from GE's truck-dependent proposal in favor of a plan that relies almost entirely on hydraulic and rail conveyance. Assuming EPA endorses the Lenox plan, revisions to the QOL will be needed. Therefore, all comments below should be reviewed through this expectant lens and indeed may be irrelevant in light of forthcoming changes. Furthermore, Section 2L of the 2020 settlement agreement specifically requires the limitation of truck traffic in residential areas, a requirement that Lenox previously contends was not properly addressed in the GE Arcadis T&D plan. It does not follow that these two plans, T&D and QOL, should be decoupled on this point. Lenox demands a subsequent comment period to address the substance of this QOL's next iteration, at which point adherence to the terms of the settlement agreement will be rigorously scrutinized by the town. Beyond the disjointed consideration of the QOL and T&D plans, there remains multiple instances where substantive details of the plan execution are dependent on future information and decisions. In light of these information gaps, combined with the lack of specific language regarding various standards, Lenox has cause to be concerned. Whether it is the aforementioned T&D plan, the final remedial design and remedial action plan, or other relevant work plans, Lenox requests that the final QOL plan consider all such details and that development be in conjunction with, rather than separate from, these other plans. Communication updates. Lenox has previously submitted comments regarding public communication. We are pleased to see some of our comments addressed in the community coordination and health and safety section of the QOL plan. Moving forward, Lenox's citizens want to be continuously informed and updated on the activities related to this cleanup effort. Region 1 has committed to establishing a website to provide daily updates on cleanup activities. We expect this website to be timely and adequately maintained. Lenox further requests that signage directing the public to the website be displayed prominently at areas of work. For Lenox's part, we've directed our information professionals at the Lenox Library to develop a web-based information page to keep the public updated on the history and current events surrounding this project. We hope the establishment of this resource page is viewed as a good faith demonstration of Lenox's long-term commitment to sound problem solving and communication. We will further expand this resource as the cleanup moves forward to address relevant work schedules and procedures to address those issues, foreseeable or otherwise, that inevitably occur. Lenox will also establish a single point of contact for cleanup-related activities. As the town will have a single point of contact, we would request that EPA establish either a daily recorded message or hotline available as a 1-800 phone number for citizens to call for updates. We ask that both EPA and GE draw upon their resources and knowledge of best practices to develop the most modern and informative communication plan available, including the incorporation of third-party monitoring and verification of key environmental indicators. This will necessarily include a mechanism for residents to report problems as they arise in real time. Moreover, in other parts of the country, we observe greater real-time online displays of statistical measures, dust, noise, and other contaminants, via dedicated project websites. Example, East Palestine, Ohio train derailment, air sampling, and data dashboard. We request a reporting system that is just as robust and preferably better as part of this cleanup project. Other noted deficiencies and relevant QOL plan comments. Beyond the broader discussion of conveyance and communication above, Lenox requests consideration of the following in the next iteration of the QOL plan. Number 1, the QOL plan lacks specificity on the requirements for restoring municipal infrastructure damaged as a result of remediation work. Lenox expects that the QOL plan will be revised to conform to Section 4A, subparagraph 3 of the settlement agreement, which specifies the technological methods that are to be deployed in determining damage attributable to the work. Documentation, so number 2, documentation of the pre-existing condition of municipal infrastructure, specifically the condition of roads, culverts, and bridges in the surrounding area, as well as documentation of the means and methods of repair are required to be part of the QOL plan. GE has not included said documentation in its December 2023 submittal. Rather, it has indicated in several statements throughout the submittal that documentation will be provided before work commences in a given area. This approach is not in keeping with the plain language set forth in the settlement agreement. As stated elsewhere in this letter, here again is an example of where the QOL plan should be developed in conjunction with other project plans, not developed separately. Number 3, work hours contemplated under Section 4.4, noise QOL standards, do not conform to Lenox town bylaws, which prohibit work-related noise in residential zones between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Furthermore, the inclusion of noise standards for work in the evening and overnight hours came as a surprise given the provisions of GE's T&D submission, which assumed a typical 8-hour workday with no work at all on weekends and holidays. This contradiction makes an additional case for considering other work plans in conjunction with the QOL plan. Number 4. Ambient air standards proposed by GE appear to be Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, standards for workplace compliance. Lenox requests confirmation of this understanding and, if accurate, strongly advises a lower standard be established that is more appropriate for residential settings. 5. To the greatest extent possible, Lenox requests that EPA require as much impartial third-party data monitoring as possible to ensure the accuracy of reported quality of life indicators. 6. In the future, to the extent that Lenox seeks to undertake its own data monitoring plan for any aspect of the project, we expect that EPA will require GE to allow data monitoring equipment and access on, along, or near the project site. Furthermore, under no circumstances should permission to install such equipment on GE property be unreasonably withheld. 7. To the extent that Lenox requires detailed proprietary information on equipment or improvements to real property for taxation purposes, GE must not withhold such information from the Lenox Board of Assessors. Is this 8?
8, yes.
They're bullet points, but I want to, yeah. 8. Given the importance of environmental stewardship as well as future recreational uses of the river, the QOL plan must include greater emphasis on the elimination and prevention of invasive species introduction and proliferation along the project corridor. And lastly, as pointed out by other commenters, light and noise considerations should be evaluated for their impact on traffic safety. The current QOL plan considers the impact to residents without considering roadway distractions and other potential safety impacts. In conclusion, GE's QOL plan needs to be rewritten and improved to address the realities of a revised T&D plan, which we have not seen yet. Furthermore, there are many enhancements and a higher standard for public communication currently lacking in the proposed plan, some of which are outlined above. We expect a revised plan that makes all the appropriate changes to ensure a successful project while reducing community impacts. Thank you in advance for your consideration, and we look forward to your favorable response. Copies to Senator Markey, Senator Warren, Congressman Neal, Governor Healy, State Senator Mark, State Representative Pignatelli, and the 5 members of the Board of Selectmen.
Very good, Chris. I think your last paragraph summed it up, that there's a lot of frustration because this is going back to the EPA, the Transportation Disposal Plan, for review. Every indication is they're going to change that plan, and we're commenting on a plan that most likely won't happen. Sums it up. You pointed out a whole bunch of different things that will be relevant in whichever plans, but we need to get to the next step. I mean, they have to figure out what the plan is going to be. Now, when EPA does their revised plan for the transportation, do they negotiate with GE to sign off on that, or is that just from EPA?
I think that I'm not exactly sure. We haven't seen exactly how that works yet. I think EPA is going to issue. They've stated publicly that they've rejected the T&D plan, but the stipulations that go along with that rejection haven't been conveyed in writing, at least as far as I know yet. But that will happen. I don't know if it hasn't happened already. Hopefully soon, and then we'll have a.
Because we're in the dark. We're in the dark with the communication between GE and EPA.
To the extent that there is any. Yeah.
To the extent that there is any, yeah.
So are you anticipating then that we will receive a new T&D plan along with the new QOL plan, or will the T&D plan come first?
Well, I think that's exactly what we're asking for here.
I mean, they should come together.
Right? It's in multiple instances, right? We want them together.
Right.
And I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
And also, it's hard you get a plan, which is fine here in 2024. This is going to go on for 13 years. That plan things are going to change. Our comments are going to change. This has got to be an ongoing thing. This isn't just a one-off comment.
I expect, it's more of an expectant hope rather than a wishful hope that there'll be ongoing iterations throughout
Is there any way
as issues come up.
that due to the fact that, you know, we're one of the reaches that's impacted, that there will be a specific point person that we'll be able to communicate with at the EPA?
I think there is.
I mean, we are communicating with Dean.
Yeah,
That was agreed, they were agreed to do that.
yeah, they agreed to do that. What I think needs to be flushed out a little bit more moving forward, both from a logistical as well as a budgetary region, is how does Lenox want to handle its point of contact? You know, because it's a big project, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're gonna have,
we've employed an OPM for the public safety complex.
yeah, we're gonna have to
This is OPM
we're gonna have to
work.
reach in our pocket and spend some money to look out for our interests
Yeah.
all along this process. There's no getting around that.
So we've got consultation, which, you know, if you were designing a building, would be akin to architects and engineers. But then, you know, there's a whole OPM concept that, you know, if you want my professional opinion, should at some point be deployed
Right.
once we get going with work.
Right.
Because there will be
Makes a lot of sense.
feedback loops that someone like me simply couldn't manage.
Right, somebody's gonna have to be regularly involved with this on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
So that's food
Anything
for
next?
thought for a future date, but
Yep.
this is the thinking that,
Right.
you know, is evolving among staff.
No, I agree. I think this is gonna be an ongoing, there's gonna be a lot more discussion, I'm sure, with us and EPA and GE.
David? So we'll send this on.
It's a
And move
very
on.
good draft. I'm really happy with it. It really lays it out there. Thank you very much for the strength of the language that you used and, you know, the demands for clarification and to couple the T&D plan with the QOL plan. It's very well done. Thank you.
Okay then, so I move to approve the letter to the EPA regarding the rest of the river quality of life compliance plan as presented by the town manager.
Second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I know Chris struggled with that. There was a lot of work.
All right.
Okay. Neil will join us again. And we'll continue the meeting. Next on the agenda is discussion of potential warrant articles and timeline for the annual town meeting tentatively scheduled for May 2nd. Town manager and myself went over a tentative warrant the other day, and it's surprisingly small. I mean, the important things are there, but tell us what we got, Chris.
So, moving from one light topic to another, we've got Chairman Lane and I sat down earlier this week and tried to sketch out what we saw as a 12 article town meeting warrant, which it's pretty standard and straightforward. So I could go through some of the articles that we're contemplating for this meeting, and it's mostly financial, quite frankly. And in fact, it's almost entirely financial at this point. So Article 1 would be the traditional warm-up pitch, the two-thirds vote authorization. Well, actually, we got rid of that one, right? So it's just the two-third vote authorization for the moderator. So that would be Article 1, right? Number 2, we get right into the omnibus operating budget for the town departments. And then Article 3 would be the school department operating budget. Number 4 would be the sewer enterprise fund. 5, the water enterprise fund. 6, the Chapter 90 authorization. 7 would be the omnibus general fund capital article. 8 would be the CPA article, which does multiple things from everything from reservations to project to debt authorizations. Number 9, we do have a prior year bill that requires I always mix this up. At annual town meetings, it's a 9/10 vote. And at special town meetings, it's a 4/5 vote, or it's the other way around anyway. It's a super duper majority, we'll call it. We do have a prior year bill that actually predates all available sources, which is why we need a free cash appropriation for at least one, possibly 2 outstanding invoices. The one I'm absolutely certain about is an old unemployment payment that. I guess got lost in transition during the pandemic. It's several years old. It's not just 1 year old. We're going back several years. So no one's been able to give us a satisfactory explanation as to why it came so late, but we owe it and we're going to have to pay it. It's in the 4-figure range. And then 10 would be an appropriation to the fire stabilization account, 11 the ambulance stabilization account, and then we're contemplating a transfer of borrowing authorization for the library dome project to address other areas of the building. So, and that's what we've got. I don't have anything from the planning board. I don't. Ms. McNulty Vaughn left, but I checked with the staff downstairs. At the moment, I don't have anything from the planning board in terms of zoning bylaw amendments, and have no. We've received March 10th is come and gone. We haven't received any citizen petitions, so this is one of the more straightforward drafts for an article list that I've seen in my tenure. So then it becomes a question of calendars. The Finance Committee has scheduled one more meeting for April 2nd, at which we've got one more department to get through as far as their deliberations go. And then on their proposed agenda that I've seen, I don't know that it's been posted, but I've seen a proposal to have them go right into overall budget deliberations, and then presumably there'll be one follow-up meeting after that to approve the actual article language once we have everything drafted. So you're looking at another week out from there or so, and then you are required to post a warrant 7 days in advance of the annual. It'd be 14 days if we were talking a special. So it's 7, so that would put you at your April 24th select board meeting, which is I think that's the week after school break, to the extent that's relevant to anyone other than me and Mr. Maximilian. But
just another week,
and that's and there you have it. So that's the Finance Committee's doing their work. Schools are on their timeline. We're on ours. I'm sure things will come up, as far as bottom lines between now and the 24th of April. But we have an intervening meeting on the 10th to maybe potentially address some of those issues to the extent there are any. But it would be my.
What was that date again?
The 10th. So we've got meetings. Tonight's the 27th of March. We would have meetings on the 10th and the 24th. 24th is when you'd have to approve the warrant because it's got to be posted the following day to have the 7-day to meet the 7-day posting requirement. So 24th is that's the day.
Well, maybe this is not the appropriate place to discuss this, but we'll have received, fingers crossed, our proposals for public safety. All the hard work that's being done by our consultants and designers and whatnot is looking like it's accurate and their predictions are good. But would we react to an outlier, value in time for town meeting if we had to.
Yeah, I imagine there's almost nothing we wouldn't do to get that project off the ground. Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion, I certainly can't speak for all of you, but yeah. I don't anticipate that that'll be necessary, but to your point,
If it's humanly possible, we'll deal with it.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. As you probably saw in my response to the chiefs, I said, do everything possible to make sure that we get started. And
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of like that.
But to your point, I mean, there are other towns who shall remain nameless who, for whatever reason, whether it's lack of community support or, fiscal uncertainty or just, an inability to understand how money works, just, don't have the wherewithal to get going on some of these key infrastructure projects. I've never found Lenox to be one of those. So I'm pretty confident that if there's a problem, we'll deal with it. But right now, things look, to your point.
we're doing everything we can to keep
That's
our eye
right.
on the target.
So that's all that I had, in terms of a timeline and articles. But I'll take whatever feedback you have and go with it.
I suggest you do keep along with the timeline as well as you can, Chris, and
All right.
refine it as much as you can. And any of the board members who want to talk to Chris individually about it or any particular one, I recommend that. And we'll just move forward.
Super.
Good work.
All right, we'll charge ahead.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we have an executive session. Our next, I forgot about that. Our next regular meeting will be April 10th, and we'll, Dave, you want to read about executive session?
Yeah. I move to the board to convene to an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to the acquisition of real property. Discussion, this matter may have a detrimental impact on the town's negotiating strategy.
Okay, and we won't return to open session after the meeting, so now I'll do a roll call vote for that.
Mary Beth Mitz, aye.
Dave Roach, aye.
Ed Lane, aye.
Neil Maximilian, aye.
Extra 5?
Okay, thank you very much.